A really pivotal moment in the whole kind of history of this was, there was a really, shady criminal enterprise called Silk Road, and I think that it was, used for very nefarious purposes. I believe one of the owners or organizers of it was convicted of using kind of Silk Road and Bitcoin for murder for hire. I mean, all sorts of terrible, terrible things. So in any event, as part of all this, the government seized the Bitcoin. And then what did they do with it? Right. Now, if the government, breaks up a drug ring and seizes a bunch of heroin, they hold on to it or destroy it or whatever. What the government did with the Bitcoin was they auctioned it off. Now, I'm sorry, when the U.S. Marshal's Office, they don't auction off cocaine. They don't, right? They don't auction off heroin. They auctioned off Bitcoin. So to me, that was really, for me, a real moment of inflection in my kind of appreciation of what was going on. That, if the U.S. government is auctioning this thing off, it is legit, it's here to stay. And in fact, the way the auction worked was, it behaved kind of like, how often, if you're transacting in another asset and, if you're buying a small lot size of an equity versus you're trying to move, a big block of corporate bonds or block of equities, and the dynamics are different. And in fact, the bidding worked like, it was like buying and selling a large block. And there was, it's very interesting evolution. So I thought, that was an important landmark. Dan referred a moment ago to the SEC's report that came out in July about the legal status of initial coin offerings and token sales. And again, they said some of these may be securities, some of these are not. It's a facts and circumstances application. And you know what? We are going to apply the exact same test that we've been applying, whether people are doing condominiums or orange juice. We're going to look at substance over form. It's this Howey test. I'm sure many people here had to study to pass some exam. Is it a security or is it not a security? And so, that creates greater legal certainty. So I think in all these areas, and my former colleagues at the CFTC just released a primer yesterday on, on that helps clarify for people when it may or may not be, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's a token, when it might be a commodity or when it might be a commodity derivative. So I think we are moving in an arc towards greater legal certainty. These things are still very new. I think regulators have an important role to play. But I think the industry, the regulators are really listening, and so it's a great opportunity to go and influence the direction it's all moving in.